Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So last weekend was super hectic for me. So from Friday to Sunday, I decided to have some pasta for dinner. These are very quick and easy recipes loaded with vegetables, very healthy and amazingly tasty. I thought I will share all these recipes with you guys because I'm sure you will love them as much as I did. So without any delay, let's get started with today's video. So the first recipe is made with eggplants and tomato. I know adding eggplants to pasta sounds a little weird, but trust me guys, this is one of the best pasta recipe I have ever tried in my life. The eggplants add such a mushy, meaty texture to the pasta. It tastes so awesome. So I chopped up the eggplants into really thin slices because then it gets cooked really well. And while I was doing all the prep, I also boiled some pasta. So I used some fusilli pasta for this, and I boiled a lot of pasta in one go and used it for like all the three recipes. And once the pasta was cooked, I added some olive oil to it and set it aside while doing all the other preps. And I also used 4 tomatoes for the sauce. Now I prefer roughly chopping up the tomato instead of making it into a puree because then it adds a beautiful texture to the pasta. And just like all other pasta recipes, this one also needs a lot of garlic. So I roughly chopped up 5 cloves of garlic, and yeah, that's all the prep. Now let me show you the recipe. So I started off by heating some olive oil in the pan, and once the oil was heated up, I added all the eggplants. Now initially the eggplants soak up all the oil, but once it starts getting cooked and starts getting soft, it also releases back the oil. Now I allowed the eggplants to cook for a while, and when it looked semi-cooked, I added some salt and covered it up and allowed it to cook for 3 to 4 minutes. So after a while, it looks like this. The eggplants look soft and cooked, and it also releases a lot of oil. So at this point, I add the garlic. I don't add the garlic in the beginning because in that case, it may end up getting burned, and you don't really need that for pasta. So I give it a stir, and then I add the tomatoes, and that is kind of the base for the sauce. So after adding the tomato, basically I stir everything together so the tomato gets cooked along with the eggplant and the garlic, and the sauce starts smelling awesome at this point. So once everything gets cooked together and starts releasing the oil, I add all the spices, that is pepper, oregano and some thyme. And finally I added the boiled pasta to this. So basically because the sauce is already pretty well cooked, I don't have to cook it along with the pasta for a long time. I just mix everything up, make sure that the sauce coats the pasta, and that's it. The pasta is ready. And right before turning off the gas, I added some fresh basil leaves to the pasta. You can also use dried basil, but to be honest, fresh herbs taste so much better. If it's available, make sure you are using the fresh leaves. And yeah, that's it. The recipe is done. I just took it out in a bowl and had it for dinner along with my husband. We enjoyed it a lot. I did not add any cheese to this pasta, but we had our breads along with some cream cheese, and I added some chili flakes to that. And yeah, it was one of the loveliest dinner we ever had in our lives. The second recipe is very refreshing and very healthy. It's a green pasta recipe made with fresh broccolis. So for this recipe, I took a medium-sized broccoli, and first I chopped off the stem, and then I cut it into really small florets. So I removed the stem from each of the florets and made sure that the florets are chopped up into small bite-sized pieces. And once that was done, I boiled some water and then allowed the broccolis to get steam cooked in it for a while so that it gets very soft and well cooked. And while the broccolis were getting cooked, I also chopped up some garlic and fresh parsley. So these are all the basic ingredients that you need for this recipe. So I started off by heating some oil in a pan and then added the garlic to it. I allowed the garlic to cook for a while, and when it became very aromatic, I added the broccolis. So the broccolis are already pretty well cooked. I did not have to cook it for a long time, but instead I just mashed them down a little so that they get broken down into really tiny pieces and coats the pasta in a kind of green sauce. You don't make a separate sauce for this, so just make sure that you are mashing down the broccoli like this so that you get a thick green textured sauce kind of thing. So once it was all done, I added a mixture of herbs to the pasta. So I added some salt, some pepper, some oregano and some chili flakes. I always add chili flakes to this pasta recipe because the red contrasts really well with the green and it looks so beautiful. And once all the spices are mixed together along with the broccoli, I start adding the pasta. For this recipe, you can also use spaghetti like pasta, but I just had this one, so I used it. And finally, I added some lemon juice to this to get a little citrusy taste, and also added some freshly grated mozzarella. Before turning off the gas, I added some pasta water to make it a little less dry and also the chopped parsley. And that's it, this pasta is ready to be enjoyed. This recipe is very refreshing and not heavy at all. So if you're in a mood to have something healthy yet tasty, you must give this recipe a try. So the final recipe was inspired by the cherry tomato and feta cheese pasta recipe that went viral a few days ago. But instead of using feta cheese, I decided to use some homemade cottage cheese and it tasted so delicious. So I boiled some milk and added lemon juice to it to make the cottage cheese. And then I also chopped up some really cute cherry tomatoes. Now you can totally use normal tomatoes too for this recipe, but the cherry tomatoes look so cute and I think they just make this dish even more delicious. So if you get them, make sure that you are using the cherry tomatoes. And these are the two basic ingredients that make this very simple recipe very, very tasty. So as usual, I started off by adding the chopped garlic in some olive oil and sauteed them for a while, and then I added the cherry tomatoes to this. Now I chopped up the cherry tomatoes into half so that they release the juice. So once the tomatoes are soft and well cooked, it will also release the oil, and at that point I added the cottage cheese to this. And I mix the cottage cheese really well along with the tomatoes. So at this point the tomatoes become really soft and mushy and it just releases all the juice and it gets mixed up with the cottage cheese. And when it comes together really well, I just add some salt and pepper. That's all the herb that I use for this recipe. It is very simple and it is super delicious just like that. So I don't complicate this recipe at all. I love it very simple and it is really very comforting. And yeah, once everything comes together, I also add the pasta to this. So finally, I stir in the pasta and allow the sauce to coat the pasta. I add some chopped fresh basil leaves and the recipe is done. I don't know how the feta cheese version tastes like, but this desi version with cottage cheese tastes so delicious. Give it a try. You will definitely love it. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you loved these recipes. Do let me know which one are you going to try first. I will be back with another video super soon. Till then, take care and bye bye.